Ahoy mateys and welcome aboard, I am Rattledy Bones, and today I got a video that's gonna rattle your bones. I got you a charcuterie board of TikTok degeneracy, mainly just focusing on the parents of TikTok this time. We got Donut Mom, the Resilient Jenkins, and of course, Diaper Mom, otherwise known as Nurse Hannah. A fantastic lineup, and let me tell you mateys, none of this is gonna be good. Before we dive into those dirty kitchens, I first want to say, as of right now making this video, I am about a few subs away from having 100 subscribers. 100. That is insane. I was hoping I would try my hardest to make my whole platforms blow up. I make a TikTok, make an X, make a Twitch, stream to promote my YouTube, and really get it going, because I would like to make this a career. I would love to work every day as a skeleton pirate, talking about stuff on the internet, where it's stuff I like, bad people, and so on and so forth. Maybe video games, maybe anime. I want to have it all. A pirate is free after all, me mateys. But a special shout out, as always, to me hardy crew, almost 100 of you. Now, I have to admit, I love my crew. I never really understood when YouTubers would say that they love their subscribers, because it's like, you just give them the money, right? But for me, as right now, someone who got no money from this, I love every one of you guys. All of me hardy crew will forever, ever be remembered. And when I'm on my dying bed, when my bones are finally laid to rest, I will say, me hardy crew, one last time. I do love the support and appreciate every one of you. And I hope you join me on the longer voyages we have ahead of us, because I have no plans on stopping. So let's get into it. First one on the list and on the chopping block is Donut Mom. For some of you, maybe for a lot of you, Donut Mom is one of the worst parents on TikTok. Her first debuting with just giving her kids a few of those little white powder donuts you'd get out of like the little Debbie bags or whatever they are. Putting a few on a plate and then giving it to their kid as breakfast. Just a few powdery donuts. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a very good breakfast to me. We also have the Resilient Jenkins and Diaper Mom Nurse Hannah. Infamous names online, and every one of them are bad to their children. Now, I understand that making content about parents and about how they treat kids can be a little tricky, especially when you don't have a family or anything else in between. However, mateys, your Captain Rattles, he has something up his sleeve. I have never been shy about this, and I never will be shy about it, because it's the way I see it, it's not my fault. The way I grew up, from being, I'd say, like 6 to 16, so about 10 years, I lived in horrible conditions. From being abused, beaten, neglected, starved. I was the oldest of 10, and none of it was fun. Even to this day, I don't like my family. I don't talk to them or my siblings, because they were some of the problems too. You don't hear about a lot of this from the TikTok or the sides of these awful parents lying about their kids. But I've seen it. I lived it. And I figured, well, that must be a real good reason to weigh in on something. I wanted to bring this part up, not to make a sob story. Captain Rattle ain't about that. I don't need pity. But it's to understand where I'm coming from every time I bring up one of these conditions the kids are living in. I say that because, of course, I've been around on the internet. I remember when people were first making videos about this. I remember when all these people, when they'd blow up on TikTok at the beginning, Rattled remembered. And I remember every time comparing their lives to mine. And I'm not trying to measure the amount of pain here, but all those kids, what they're going through in awful conditions, are, to give you a gist of what I'm trying to say, they're better conditions than mine. I mean, even the Donut Mom's kids, who we're going to cover here soon, at least they sometimes get warm meals. Your boy Rattle didn't even have that. But that does not take away from the abuse of these children. Let's make that a fact right here and now. These poor children need help, and just because I had a worse environment growing up and I somehow survived, does not mean I did not survive wholly. You get what I'm saying? Kids do not come out of those situations normal people, and it was very tricky, and it took even nowadays, I'm still trying to learn how to be a functional adult. Because, let me tell you, sailors, something you don't see on the internet, a bad parent will never teach their kid how to be an adult, which means A grown man has to learn how to load his own laundry, do taxes, and drive on his own because his parents did not care enough to teach him. And I want to spate one more thing, just one more thing before we get into the mess, mateys. Just one more hark from Rattle. Drug addict parents will always put drugs in front of their kids. Now, that's probably a real obvious statement to some of you, but you need to understand the well-beingness of a kid, their food, their clothes. None of it matters as much as drugs. Drugs will always come first, and even if the parents have thousands of dollars in EBT, the kids aren't seeing that. Those EBTs get sold for drugs. We've seen it 100, maybe even 1,000,000 times. I think there's even a law to like not sell EBT, like food stamps, for firearms. So, wow, yeah. All right, mateys, let's dive into the deep end. Starting off with a fresh course of Donut Mom. Alex the Donut Mom has 2 baby daddies and a few kids. She lives in a house of awful conditions. It's dirty and filled with feces, whether it's humans or rabbit feces, because she's known to let her rabbits poop around her bedroom. That is up for grabs. Now, 2 baby daddies, but only one's really important right now. That would be Taylor, or Tyler, or however you pronounce it. I guarantee you it doesn't matter. But, whew. So, we know this from her name. She feeds her kids bad. Donut Mom, she's feeding her kids all these unhealthy junks and whatnot. But that is just the icing on the cake. And let me tell you, Donut Mom takes cakes. And not in a fight. From smacking her kids, to living in awful conditions, to allowing a weird, like, her baby daddy Tyler, allowing him around the kids still after some weird stunts he pulled. We're going to get into a little bit of each and every one of these debacles. So yeah, Taylor, the baby daddy, I think he's the main dad, and I say this because he's often always back into her life. She left Taylor because she would reportedly say things like the kids are scared of him. And plus, we'd always see on her lives and on her videos that he's walking around the house strapped. He has a gun on him. Now, listen, your boy Rattle, he has a few sticks, if you know what I mean. I got a few pew-pews. I got a boomstick ready with someone's name written all over it. I call that boomstick the knee mist maker because it makes your knees into mist. But I'm not walking around my house strapped up with it. That's weird. And if I was a kid, especially an abused kid, I'd be terrified. So he's walking around the house with a firearm all the time. Kids are scared of him, and she's like, yeah, I'm miserable. I'm not going to take this. So they divorce. They split up. And then she gets together with James. James isn't too important, though. I'm pretty sure he's a baby daddy, too. But James also has a girlfriend named Dana. Isn't that nice? So James and Dana get with Donut Mom Alex, and in a throuple kind of thing. You don't know what a throuple is. That's where 3 people date. 2 guys, 1 girl, 2 girls, 1 guy. It could be whatever. But that's what a throuple is. Gross. So I keep beating around this bush because I'm thinking about Donut Mom, everything she's been through, but only one thing is sticking to my mind, so I might as well just rip the band-aid off. One day, Taylor was staying with the 3 couples and their kids. And apparently around midnight, and luckily I do have a soundbite of this, a little clip it. But around midnight or whatever, 11 to midnight, Alex goes out of her room, which apparently everybody was sleeping in, including the kids and the throuple. They were all sleeping in the same room. 1, I can only imagine the smell of 3 unhygienic people who eat terribly. And 2, why are your kids sleeping with you in the same room? Especially with, like, a whole throuple thing going on. Like, what? You got an Alaska King bed in there? What the heck's going on? But she would come out of her room to find Taylor yoing his hoe, yoinking his sploink, grabbing his bone, if you get what I mean. And apparently he finished right there, on the floor, in front of the door. Now, luckily, none of the kids woke up, but if you know children at all, they don't stay asleep throughout the night. So any of the kids, James, Dana, any of them could have walked out and seen this dude yoing his hoe in front of the door, just staring at it. So this dude has a problem where he walks around. He's mean and aggressive to kids, so they're scared of him. That's what I'm getting from this. That's, again, I've seen this. Rattle's just not making assumptions here. I've seen the inner works of these terrible people. And let me tell you, if kids seem scared of them on lives or videos, there's something worse going on in the back. So this dude's a brute. He's a real piece of work, a real scallywag, if you know what I mean. You're walking around, making children feel uncomfortable, and he's yoinking his splunk in the middle of the night to a room where children are in. If you're like me, you're like, holy crap, Donut Mom, she really dodged a bullet with him. Thank God she's not with him. Well, mateys, she took him back. I don't know for how long, I don't know if they're still together, but she took him back. The weird dude who makes kids feel uncomfortable and scared and yoinks his sploink in front of doorways at 11 at night and leaves it on the carpet, his I'm going to call splunk. He leaves his scurvy splunk on the carpet for animals, kids, other people to walk in. That'd be messed up. Listen, if I was James and I come out and there was some dude yoinking his splunk and just left it on my carpet, he's getting hit. Someone's getting hurt, right? Especially if the kid's involved. But no, that didn't matter. When Donut Mom broke up with James and Dana, they went on apparently to get engaged. And she got back with Tyler. Yay, that's good. Those poor freaking kids. I can't stress that enough. I remember when I was in situations like this, when I felt like hopeless. Because I remember in the last video we talked a little about DHFS with iDubbbz and Ethan Klein. I always wished they'd take me. They never did, and I always wished to be in foster care, even though I knew how bad it was, and I knew what that could mean for a lot of children. But I was, like, dreaming of a foster care, man. Never came. Bad stories usually don't have good endings. But so I can only imagine what these kids are feeling. And that leads me into my next segue about Donut Mom. Her smacking her kid. On a live interview with this woman on TikTok, the Donut Mom was talking to her daughter about something, and the daughter said out loud that she smacks her in the face. So she's saying that Donut Mom Alex smacks her in the face, her being the little girl. Now, of course, you might be thinking, what the heck? Because a lot of Alex's topics on the matter are just pushed aside. They're not addressed, or she just says, oh, my kid's a liar. Yeah, my kid lies all the time. When I was a kid who would try to tell people about what was going on, because, why wouldn't you try to tell a trusted adult, a police officer? I was unfortunately one of those stupid kids who trusted the school counselor. That got me beat. Let me make that very clear. Anytime I would try to get help, I would call the police. The police would show up and they'd be like, did your kids call? They said someone was being abused. My parents would be like, no, nope. Everyone's fine here. See, look, the kids are fine. And they'd show us, us. And because we don't have whelps across our bodies just yet, they like, all right, well, don't tell your kids not to do a prank call, and they leave. Or the school counselor would tell the parents, and the parents would be like, oh, I don't know where that's coming from. Oh, that's so horrible to hear. I'd never do that to my kid. And you know what happens to those kids? Probably the same thing that happened to Donut Mom's kid. They get beat. They get beat for telling the truth. They get beat for trying to get help. You get beat for getting beat. I mean, what do you think bad people stop when the camera's off? It's like, oh man, TikTok knows I hit my daughter. I probably shouldn't do it anymore. No, I'm willing to bet that little girl got the I gotta calm down. I'm willing to bet that little girl got beat. Probably got smacked again. Probably was grounded. That consequences definitely happen. Child bravery, when it comes to speaking out about something like this, has to be taken so seriously, or that kid's gonna get beat again. I have to make that very clear. As a child who would often get beat trying to seek help, that kid will get beat again, especially now that the abusive dude yoinking his splink all over the house is back. I can only imagine the hell these children are going through. All the children in these videos. I want to make it very clear that all the children in all these terrible situations are never did the blame. It's the parents. Even if your daughter did have a lying complex, I wonder where that stemmed from. You know, I used to be called a liar too a lot. And now I would lie about stealing food. I would lie about stealing, yes, all the time, because what are you going to do as a kid? It was either eat nothing and have your whole body argue against you, your stomach eat itself, or you stole food and lied about it. I mean, you see that in like royal countries or bad areas where there's begging and there's like, you know, children thieves and markets and stuff like that. That's basically what it is. You can find that right here in America, right behind your dang suburbs, you know, right between those four walls of that crackhead home at the end of the street. I bet there's a kid getting beat down there, because that was me. And I see myself in this little girl who had the bravery to speak up against her mom smacking her in the face all the time while she was on live. But then that kid just gets denounced as a liar. Kids will lie to save their asses 100% of the time, because kids are afraid of the consequences. They don't fully understand what could happen. Even though if they told the truth that the punishment might be lighter, they don't understand that, and they won't for a long time. So when a kid comes out and says, my mom smacks me in the face, I'm finna believe them. Because again, that has merit. You're a piece of crap parent who makes piece of crap decisions, and you don't take care of your kids. Yeah, I'm gonna think you beat them too. I mean, I seen it. I had a family members that my family never cooked, never cleaned. We were child labor, free child labor that got taxes and EBT off of us. We were slaves. And oh man, we get treated like such. Now make no mistake, rattle skin's white, but I was treated like a child slave. You know what I mean? Beaten, starved, neglected again and again and again. And I see it in these kids, and it breaks my heart, man. It kills me. And I ain't joking a lot, and so I'm for real. I'm getting a little heated. I should probably calm down for I say something I gotta clip out.
That Taylor did in front of our but there was no way the kids could have seen it because they were all asleep. This was at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Was it 1 o'clock in the morning? And so no, the kids could not have seen it. No, Taylor did not want to join in the relationship. He wasn't interested in Dana. That does sound familiar because they both told me that Taylor was interested in Dana. But Taylor didn't even like Dana and told me not to do the throuple and that I would regret it.
And now literally everybody is probably like, has that screen recorded, because they always see that with my 6-year-old. They always see that. My 6-year-old has said multiple lies while I'm on TikTok live that people screen record. So someone's going to post that tonight.
You feel like she just liked to put on the show once the cameras started rolling? She like, oh, let me just put on a show. She just like to do that.
No, she always lies. She's 1 strike away from in-school suspension and school for lying to her teachers.
Oh, wow. I'll ask a couple of questions before the interview tomorrow, since I was blindsided by this. So do you think that she lies like for attention, or like she's just a natural born liar?
I think it's for attention. She does a lot of stuff for attention. Like, she'll hit her sister just so I'll get mad at her. Like, if I'm busy doing something, like if I'm editing or something like that, she'll hit her sister or push her over just so I get mad. Because to her, any attention is better than no attention.
Right.
And I give them all equal attention, but she, for some reason, doesn't get enough. Her therapist described it as her cup has like a hole in the bottom, and you can never fill her cup. That's how her therapist described it.
And has her therapist ever like said that she says in therapy that you hit her?
No. Her therapist does play therapy, so it's always like I'm always in the same room. But she like has told me that she knows. I've told her the stuff about TikTok that goes around. Like, people think I'm abusive. People think that I'm this horrible mom, and they've said multiple times that they would have been able to tell if I was abusive by now, because they come here every week.
So your daughter's therapist comes to the house every week, and
Every week.
They don't have, and so they don't say nothing about the way the house looks when they go?
No.
Okay.
They've commented they've said that it's a little messy, but they're mandated reporters. So they've said, like I've said, how people think CPS should be at my house, and they've said that if they saw a CPS worthy problem, they would have called them.
Right. Gotcha. I can see you got real red when that happened. Oof, girl, I can feel your anxiety over here.
But nothing rattles my bones more than when I see a kid trying to stand up for what's going on and them get denounced instantly for something. Oh, my kid is just acting bad. Or, oh, they're just not, they're lying. I hate it so much because it happens so much to me. Again, if I'm an abused kid and I'm saying, hey, this happened to me, what do you think that little girl's going through? What do you think those kids are going through? I'll tell you what it is. It is hell behind four walls. A suburban nightmare. And it makes me mad. Boy, does it make me mad. And they still have a platform. People are still subscribing to them daily to go laugh at Donut Mom. This brings you back to my point. I'm laughing at these people. I'm poking fun. I ain't touching the poop. I didn't subscribe to anybody. I'm not subscribed to Nova's TikTok, Donut Mom's TikTok, Resilient Jenkins, none of it. I go for clips, I go for VODs, and all the information I either know or I take a refresher on someone else's video, like Kiwi's. I love Kiwi Tapes. He's always covering these bad people. But that's where I'm coming from. If we didn't give these people a platform, they'd probably stop. And now stopping their platform is not going to help the kids, but they're pretty dang public. Do you hear what I'm saying? They're public. Like, you could find their names, their Facebooks, their TikToks. Shouldn't we try to get these children help? I know I want to. I don't know where to start. I'm just some dumb YouTuber who's a skeleton pirate. But man, does it break my heart, and it really, really boils my blood. So let's move on before I say something stupid. The Resilient Jenkins. For those who don't know, that might be few and far, the Resilient Jenkins is a family of 7 who lives in motels, 1-bedroom motels, sometimes not even that, with their, again, 7 kids that nobody takes care of. They have the mom, Stephanie, and stepdaddy, Drew. He might be a dad, too, because I think they had a kid together. But I know that he has other kids that are not in the family and that are in the family that he does not pay child support on. We know this because he got out of a court hearing by saying he was sick and fainted. That's a nice old medical bill for people that don't have money. If you don't know, the Resilient Jenkins don't work. Stephanie, the mom, will live stream and gain revenue from there. That's their biggest money maker. And Drew will sometimes do DoorDash when he's not glued to that PS5. Now, as someone who's a gamer, I game often when I'm in my free time. If I'm not reading or watching anime or doing something, like around the house or whatnot, I'm playing video games. I love video games. Right now, I'm playing Fallout New Vegas on my own, and I played it before, but now with the DLCs I got on Steam for sale. Ooh, I'm trying that out. I love the game. That's my whole point. Sorry to ramble on. But I never put anything in front of gaming. I have people that rely on me. I have things that that need care, and those things never go above gaming. I game when I'm free. I game when I can, and I play games to relax. It's not a 24/7 need. I've seen so many lately of even people who are like almost 50 years old just being glued to their consoles or games because they're playing Call of Duty with the boys, or I wanted to say NBA 2K because I've seen this a lot, but I'll admit that feels a bit racist because Drew's black, but it's a game, it's not for a race. So I want to make that clear because I've heard NBA 2K was also a big problem. Guys are always on there. I think the other day I saw a video on TikTok of some dude, he had his whole setup in a hospital while his wife was giving birth, and gave birth, and he still didn't care. He was still playing a game, which I'm pretty sure was 2K. I couldn't see the screen too well. And the nurse was like, hey, here's your baby. Your wife did well, by the way. Like, what? It is a big problem. And again, I'm a huge advocate for you do you. All right? It doesn't matter what you like to do in your free time. Everybody deserves a good hobby. But that hobby should never, ever come before anybody, including your partner or kids. You should never put your kids in front of that. And that's all that Drew is doing. That PS5 comes before him and nobody else. I mean, it goes PS5, the Jenkins family. You see what I'm saying? That's the order for Drew. And this is proof in all of his videos. Stephanie tries really, really hard to make it seem like Drew is a super dad and he's doing so much. He's doing so much. He's going crazy with his support. He's out there with a cape on his back. In every video, every live stream, all we see is Drew be a piece of crap. He puts the dead in deadbeat dad. They also, just like Donut Mom, feed their kids horrible, horrible meals. Yay! More kid neglect. Man, it's everywhere nowadays. It's almost normalized with how much child abuse and child neglect there is, especially in the big 2-6. Not only do they force, let's be honest, not only do they force their kids to sleep on grounds, to eat awful meals, they also abandon their cat. When they first got kicked out of their house and started moving into motels, they abandoned their cats. And that, if there was anything to make me more mad, or madder, or angrier at the Resilient Jenkins, or any of these people for neglecting children, is neglecting animals. You remember me rules, mateys? Pirates rule number 1, never hurt women, children, or animals. Pirates rule number 2, always have fun. And pirates rule number 3, never start the day without rum or me. But seriously, you don't mess with animals. Children and animals, they're off limits, all right? You take care of them because they need you to take care of them most of the time. But not always with animals, because sometimes they're stray cats, and it looks like they got their business together. You know what I mean? They don't need nothing from me but a pet here and there. But they abandoned their cat, and he was not looking okay. He had some like fur missing. He had some scabs on his skin. Look, poor kitties. They looked like they were not taken care of, and they were forced to live in such a small environment that has to be torturous for cats that love to run around. Cats are kind of like dogs. They get zoomies. They like to run around. They like to jump high places. They like to hunt, and to not give something that is downright torturous. It's like forcing a kid on a leash so they can never run. Kids love to run. So do cats. The animals need space to move, to live. Just because you're okay living in a 1-bedroom apartment doesn't mean they are. And especially so if you have 7 kids in that mix. How the hell is a cat supposed to live in something like that? But luckily, I got good news. Good news, me mateys. The kitties are okay. In fact, they're even in better conditions now, which is awesome to hear. I never heard of an update for the cats, so it's great. Shout out to Kiwi Tapes. Go check him out. And his videos on Resilient Jenkins is where I learned that the kitties are okay, which makes me very happy. That sombers my soul a little bit. I'm so glad the cats are okay. Thank God to whoever found these abandoned cats and started taking care of them. There's a special place in heaven and on me ship for you. So back to the eating habits. Well, Stephanie will say, oh, my kids prefer frozen pizza over ordered pizza. What frozen pizza are you getting? Red Baron, DiGiorno, all this stuff is okay, but it never beats a Little Caesars pizza. You know what I mean? No one's beating a Little Caesars pizza, in my opinion. Now, if you start hearing me, mateys, go after the food they're eating a little bit, it's because if your boy Rattle ain't a pirate, if he ain't being a pirate, then he being a chef. That's also what I do. I love to cook. I'm Zeph. I'm the captain chef. But anyhow, I don't understand how a kid's like, yeah, I know, I want the frozen pizza. And let's be honest, DiGiorno, that's like what, $8? Red Baron, that's $4. They ain't buying that. I mean, they ain't got no money, so it's probably Tostitos $1 pizzas, individual packs. I get why a kid like that. As a kid, I loved those pizzas too if I ever got them. But those aren't good. That's processed food, processed cheese, and honestly the worst type of dough known to man. Not just flatbread, but it's some kind of weird, like, gooey flatbread. It's just awful because all the preservatives in it to keep it on when it's frozen and whatnot. I can't be good for kids. Once here and there, sure, whatever. You know, that doesn't matter. I'll eat some Hot Pockets here and there too. You know what I mean? But you gotta know that bad parents don't give their kids good food. So the only vegetables they might ever be eating is probably on one of those supreme pizzas. You know what I mean? Which is awful to hear and awful to say, but that's the cold hard truth of this. The cold truth of all of this abuse and neglect is it stems way further than what we can understand. So, after the old bad food, that's not all I wanted to talk about on the subject. I know I'm getting a little spacey headed on it, I'm rambling on, but if it wasn't worse that they had to eat bad food, it was that they had to wait for Drew to come home to eat bad food. And some of the clips and some of the things I've saw, and I will show, Stephanie would say, well, you're just gonna have to wait until, oh, Drew's coming home late, so we're just gonna have to wait to eat dinner. So I gave my kids some snacks. Now, I could understand if you're cooking something up in the oven and it's like, I still got like an hour. This thing takes forever to bake. So how about you just have some chips or, some Cheez-Its until we have until dinner's ready. That's one thing. But actively starving your children until Drew decides to come home. And again, if he's not door dashing, then he's trying to meet up with the side pieces while under the disguise of door dashing. So really, he'll come home whenever he wants and we'll just wait to eat until then. Which is awful for a child. I was a child who did not get any meals unless I went to school. And if I did, they weren't good. They were processed, usually those cheap $1 3-packs of ramen. And each kid got a pack of ramen, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Or those gross PB&Js where the peanut butter and jelly's in the same jar. Now, if you like that, that's fine. But as a kid who was forced to live off of it, it's putrid to me. So they don't even get to eat until he comes home, and that's whenever they want. And then when they do get to eat, it's slop. It's stuff that's not good for a kid. You need 3 meals a day for a kid, and you need milk for their bones and their calcium to grow up big and strong, and you need vegetables so they can retain their vitamins. Because I know you ain't letting them outside a lot. They're probably cooped up in that dang motel all the day. So they didn't get their vitamin D, they ain't getting their vitamin C, they're not getting their healthy benefits from food like they're supposed to be. You know what I mean? It's awful. These kids are gonna grow up having health conditions a lot like I did. I have bad health and skin conditions because the way I grew up. For those of you who don't know, if you grow up with hot water in a terrible and dirty environment, apparently it'll ruin most of your life. So that's great. Anyhow, that's not the only thing though. Going down to Stephanie's past, we know that, not even her past just yet, we know that she had an ex-husband before this. And her mom has made a statement.
Gets herself in these relationships and she becomes a different person. This isn't my daughter. This is not the person I raised. This is not her. Who she is right now is not her. And it's when she gets in this, she loses herself in these relationships. That's what they do, is they cut their family out of their lives because they want to make her world so small, and they want to make sure that she doesn't have someone she can run to for help, that she's stuck. Her first husband, that was a situation where she met this person. He had told her, that he was a registered, and see, I'm afraid to say those words on TikTok, but we know. So. He was a registered, and he told her that all that stuff was stuff he'd been accused of, but nobody could really prove. And that he comes from a really, really large family. And it was my brother who did that to my mom, but he'd already been in trouble with the law. So my mom decided to make it me because I wouldn't get in as much trouble. And there was just this list of excuses, and she bought it. Jeremiah Christian Thompson, if you want to know. And when she first brought him to my house for me to meet him, they'd been together for about 3 months before she brought him over to meet me. And what really pissed me off is that she brings him to my house. Her brothers at that time were 7 and 8. And you know the age of the child he's been with? She didn't tell me that this man had this about him. And she brought him to my home with her younger brothers. So that was the beginning of this really hostile.
So as you heard me, mateys, she married a PDF file who said, nah, that wasn't actually me. It was my brother. What the heck? I need to process that one for a second. Ooh, man. So you get with a guy, and you actively bring him around your younger siblings, and he's known for being a PDF file. So you get with him and have kids with someone on the registry. that's on the registry for a reason. If that doesn't staple in the facts that she makes awful decisions, how about the fact that her and Drew do drugs? Drugs? The devil's lettuce? No, me mateys. You know Captain Rattle loves the lettuce. He loves the reefer. But no siree, these are hard drugs. You can tell by the utensils they use. Now, I won't show them here because I want to talk more, not really talk, but I do mention the kids, and I don't want to, you know, have drugs and kids kind of the same thing. But that's what they're doing. Gross. These, I'll explain it a little bit because I don't want people to not understand what I'm saying. It's meth, probably crack. I've seen it. You know, I'm surprised there's not needles and syringes everywhere too. But there's a bowl for the devil's lettuce and there's a bowl for meth. They look kind of similar unless you've really been around it like I have, unfortunately. Now again, devil's lettuce is okay and I love it, much as the next guy. But meth, even weed or devil's lettuce, whatever. You can't even smoke that around kids. Secondhand smoke is still a thing, and it can still affect people, especially children. You shouldn't smoke around children. You shouldn't smoke anything around children at all. Not cigarettes, not weed. And if you do it, you're a bad person. Rattle's hot takes. You're a bad person if you smoke in front of a kid. But you shouldn't be doing that, let alone having your paraphernalia lying around for other kids to grab or touch. You have 7 young kids who are probably very grabby, because most kids are grabby, and you're leaving your meth and crack pipe out on the little counter while you make your little videos on TikTok. Could you be any stupider? Could you want any more neglect for your children? You might as well sign them up for the next, coal mining job, because now that child labor is being brought back. Ugh. Rattles me bones. It rattles me bones. So we touched a little bit on the topic of Drew and his side pieces, but to end off the Resilient Jankic part of this smorgasbord, let's talk about his side pieces. Drew's had a lot of side pieces, mainly trolls come up in his DM, trying to get him to see if he will do something or cheat. And apparently this dude is down bad, or he just doesn't care, because he is falling for every one of these buddy trolls. It's worse than Cyrax out there. And the worst part is, all this stuff gets brought up and texts get shown all the time because they're not doing it to actually get with Drew. They're doing it as a, oh, gotcha, you're cheating moment. And it worked every time. But not for Stephanie. See, Stephanie saw this, knew this, and decided to keep going. It's just another bump in their very, very, very bumpy road. Gross and incompetent, if you ask me, and a little bit delusional. Your constant bad decisions and your delusional takes and your delusional reality of your situation is causing more and more harm for your children. And it will cause more and more harm for your children as they get older and they see things worse. Especially if you're telling your kids stuff like this.
Where are we gonna get the donuts?
I told you. When are you gonna get used to being disappointed? It's gonna have to be you or me who go get him later. He done made his choice, he's not gonna take you.
Awful stuff. Just telling a kid to get used to being disappointed in life. That's something you would tell a teenager who failed their driving test, or maybe did bad in a video game or on a actual test, right? It's like, yeah, sometimes things doesn't happen how you want it in life. That's kind of how it is. But to a little kid, as a parent, you're supposed to promote promising and never making a promise unless you can keep it, and so on and so forth, and the strength of your word, and everybody only has their word. I mean, come on, this is simple stuff. You can look this up on Google. Man. Let's get to one of the lesser known people in TikTok, and that is, of course, Diaper Mom Nurse Hannah. I don't got a lot of stuff on Hannah, so it'll be the perfect thing to end the video on. Let's dive into her diaper mess. Known as the 17 Diapers Mom for a long time on TikTok until she blew up everywhere else, Nurse Hannah would often cheap out on her little toddler, on her kids' stuff, would cheap out on it, and not do basic things around the house, and also talk about basic things she can't do even though she's a fully grown adult and apparently a nurse. Starting at the heavy thing, her name and total, the 17 diapers mom, apparently she would leave diapers all around her house throughout the day. So she would change a toddler's diaper and then leave the diaper there. And then she'd change a toddler's diaper and leave it there, which is gross. Like, buy a separate trash can or something. What the heck? You could go to the Dollar Tree or Dollar General in any place in the States. They're everywhere. And you could get a little bin for like $1, maybe $5 if you're feeling frisky. Dude, you don't need to be leaving your diapers around. That's disgusting. And again, you have a toddler. You have a toddler and you have multiple diapers around. That is going to be a nasty mess because toddlers don't know what they're doing. And if they get into one of those diapers, now that's all over your dang house. Ooh, that has to smell awful. I can guarantee you I know the smell of her rotting house. And this is crazy because, again, this is what I was talking about suburban hell. She's a nurse. I don't know what her husband does. He doesn't look like a nice guy, but I don't know what he does. But their house looks nice. Any nicer house I've been to in a while. Their place looks nice. They look like they're well off. So there is no reason for this. This is called blind incompetence. Now, people would argue this is rage bait. All of this has been rage bait for, getting views, getting clicks, because who doesn't like blowing up on the internet? I mean, hell, even I like that. But even as someone who, 3 weeks ago, I had like 10, 20 subscribers. And I was trying to think about what stuff I could do to, get out there more and whatnot. Never was it ever clickbait on how I'm a bad person. I've talked about this a little bit before. I feed a lot of stray cats outside. I take care of a lot of stray cats outside. Vet medical bills are not cheap. Wet food is not cheap. Flea medicine is not cheap. And, it sucks, but I do it. And I'm going to keep doing it whether I have no money to my name or not. You know what I'm saying? So I would never, as much as one of the whole big points of me starting this YouTube was I was hoping, because it is a lot of money that I don't have, I was hoping I could make this a career. I could get some money off of it. And all the money I was going to make is going straight to those outside cats. Now, I don't know if you believe me, and that's okay. I don't need you to believe me. But I'm going to take care of those little babies. I would never, ever, and again, I want money for this. I would never make a video about me being neglectful to those cats for money. Or hell, anything, right? If I had kids. If I had dogs. I'm not going to show myself being neglectful for a rage bait to get views and clicks. That ain't going to happen. So it's awful to see that she's using her toddler as that. It's not just that, though, she's awful about. When they go out to eat, and again, they're well off. I mean, she's a nurse. You think nurses aren't making that much money? When they would go out to eat, they wouldn't get their toddler anything, and that's shown in a few clips on her TikTok. What also gets me a little mad is how she wouldn't shill out money for a coat in below degree weather. It was dropping cold around this time for her and her little toddler, and she would not drop any money to get him a coat. And she goes on about how she doesn't buy into the whole, marketing for babies because it's priced up. Everybody knows baby clothes are priced up. That's just how it is. The thing that's crazy, though, is that she refuses to buy clothes for her kids, even though that. Now, I'm a firm believer in going to thrift stores, retail, and third-party retail stores and other places that make it cheaper for kids and hand-me-downs and whatnot. That's completely fine, especially if your kid's growing a lot. That makes sense. But to only buy at these stores, like their whole outfits and clothes and probably even toys, because if they're not going to get them a coat, you think you're going to spend some money on a toy? No, that's not how it works. So she's getting all of her kid this hand-me-down stuff. They're budgeting their butts off. And again, it looks like they're well off. If you're not well off, you shouldn't have a pretty big house, right? And they are just being, it almost looks like to me they're being willfully neglectful to their children. And I do say children because 17 diaper mom who couldn't be bothered to pick up 17 diapers around her house now has an infant, or did, or whatever. Now there's 2 kids. Great. That's wonderful for both of those kids. I'm sure those kids are going to grow up healthy and correct. Dang. More on this, though. She'd make content. She'd make videos and other things saying stuff like, I didn't know how to do my insurance. I couldn't find a place that takes my insurance, so I waited 10 months. Maybe not really. Maybe it's over exaggeration, but the fact that there was any time a period waiting because you didn't have the right, stuff. Oh, man. It pains me. I'll tell you what, mateys. It pains me so bad because it feels like rage bait with how stupid she's seeming. And if you know me, I love a smart and strong woman. And it's baffling how it's like, it almost reminds me of Pearl. For those who know Pearl is, it's that girl who always goes around saying, "Oh, men are better, men are right, women should be in the kitchens, we don't belong in the workforce, yada yada." All this like pick me stuff. It's gross. This is what Nurse Hannah's giving me the vibe of. Especially when she says stuff like, "Oh, I had to have my husband help me with my insurance, and he finally got it right. Men are right. Men are superior." And it's like, ew. You know what you're doing. Which leads me to my next point about Nurse Hannah and her family. Her husband. Anytime her husband's around, or anytime he is mentioned, he sounds like a complete ass, an arse, a real back of the boat. Someone who'd probably get put in the brig or shot off the boat for yapping too much at the captain. You know what I'm saying? He seems like an asshole. I'm just gonna lay it thick on for you, mateys. I try to sugarcoat it sometimes, but he seems like a prick. I mean, if I would say stuff like that to my partner, she'd probably punch me in the mouth, and for good reason, too. I'll show you a little what I mean.
Taking me if I'm complaining about all the stuff that I did not get done, like work stuff. I am the biggest procrastinator, but then I complain about how much I procrastinate. So I'm starting the day off right with Waterboy getting hydrated. One thing about me and my husband is we love to vacation. When we are on vacation, we are not so much on a budget, but when we are home, we are very much on a budget. The man said I have $100 to spend in Vegas on whatever I want to. I can spend it, I can keep it, I can spend it whenever I want to. I have $100 and he has $100. But he said I can't get that $100 if I don't have all my stuff done before we go to Vegas. I'm just the biggest procrastinator. I'm so bad at it. I've had things on my to-do list for like months now, and I just never get them done. So today is all about finishing up those tasks before we go to town. Initially, we weren't going to Vegas until Wednesday, but then I finished work yesterday, so it's like, why not just...
There's also been rumored in other videos talking about how she locks her toddler's door at night, which that is awful. That cannot be good for the little toddler's mental state, being locked in his own room at night. Especially if it's like dark and there's no nightlight, because you're not buying him a coat. Why would she buy him a nightlight? Am I right? Jesus. Oof. These parents are all bad. From the diaper mom to the resilient Jenkins, all the way up to donut mom. We've seen time and time again how horrible people on the internet can get platformed for abusing their children. I hope that these are the worst of the worst, and we won't come to see in the light of any more bad parents popping their head up, making content on their awful, awful behavior towards their children. And I hope each and every one of these poor kids, every one of them, can somehow find the safety and the nourishment they deserve and require to grow. My heart goes out to all of them, and if I had it my way, they'd all be put in better homes with family members they know, love, and care with. You know what I mean? Because I'm not advocating for these people's kids to be taken away and put in foster care, because foster care 100% of the time is never better. But in the worst of situations, it's hope sometimes. Again, mateys, this comes from a deep spot in my heart. I pray for these children. I pray for their safety, and I hope to God that when they are older, they realize what is a bad parent and what is not, and they know to do better if they ever have children. That's my goal, mateys. That should be everybody's goals. Every child has been put in awful situations, and there's so many of us. You have to do better than your parents. In the abusive cycle, it's our job, it's our responsibility. These old people that raised us, they're too old to actually care. They're too old to ever change or learn. We have to be the change in the world we want to see. And I hope all of you who's ever had it rough is doing just that and knows that Rattle loves you. Well, that's about all the TikTok degeneracy I can handle for today. It's gross, and I'm getting a little heated reading it and talking about it. It's never good to hear about kids getting beat or neglected, and it's even worse when you see blatant people still having a platform to do so on. But if you like my content, I hope you give me a like. I hope you become one of the few to 100 subscribers. Please join my crew. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't say there will be a 100 viewer stream on YouTube. Join me there, see me there, and I'll see you in the next one. Farewell, me mateys!